Why do tattoos fade, and how can you slow down that process? We'll get to that and a little bit more in just a minute. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Liam. I'm a tattoo artist based out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I specialize mainly in large-scale black and gray realism tattoos. In this video, I'm going to go over why tattoos fade and how you can actually help slow down that process. A lot of the fading of your tattoo actually occurs in the first couple months of the lifetime of your tattoo. It's important to note that there are some things that aren't in your control when it comes to your tattoo fading. Sometimes it can just be the tattoo artist's fault just based on experience. It's important to note that some newer artists' work will fade faster than more experienced artists' work just based on application as well as knowing your needle depth. Everyone's skin is so different and that changes on a day-to-day basis, so the more experience a tattoo artist has, usually the longer your tattoo is going to last too. Another crucial thing to know is that a fresh tattoo is always misleading. Usually a fresh tattoo is going to look a lot more vibrant than a tattoo that's already been healed and aged. You find the stages of healing at about 2 weeks to a month, and then again at about 2 to 3 months old. The difference in your fresh tattoo compared to your tattoo at 3 months is actually going to be quite a bit different. That's why black and gray tattoo artists like me might make the tattoo look a little bit darker, and knowing that it's going to heal a little bit lighter. This goes for color as well, and just trying to bump the contrast just to have the tattoo last a lot longer. I'm going to go over the different stages of your healing and why tattoos will fade quite a bit in the first couple months. But first, it's important to know the first layers of your skin that the tattoo is actually going to live in for the first little bit. The two layers being your epidermis and your dermis. Starting with the first 2 weeks, the reason your tattoo looks so vibrant or even a little bit darker is because that ink is actually saturating both layers of your skin, all the way up to the top layer, which is your epidermis. And for about the first 2 weeks, your body is just solely focused on closing up the needle punctures on your top layer of skin. After the first 2 weeks, your body's actually going to start concentrating more on ink dispersal. Without getting too technical, the ink can only really live in your dermis, and is going to try and push the rest of that ink either down into that dermis, or during the healing process, sometimes it'll push some of the ink out. Some tattoo artists' work heal a lot faster, basically because that top layer of skin, your epidermis, is gonna have less puncture holes because we're trying to get that ink in as fast as possible with as few passes as possible. The more trauma you cause to that skin, the harder it is going to heal. This is also why understanding needle depth is really important, because if you go too light and most of your ink is in your epidermis, which is your top layer of skin, and not as much of it is in your dermis, then a lot of it's actually going to fall out within that first month or so. This last process of the ink being concentrated more into your dermis is actually going to take about 2 or 3 months. You can kind of call this the stage of where the tattoo is now settled. I would say that the tattoo heals within about 2 weeks, and that's when you can kind of like stop worrying about it as much. But your tattoo isn't fully settled for about 2 to 3 months. At this point, it's safe to say that the tattoo that you're looking at is going to stay. The only thing it has to fight now is just the time and age of your skin, and also sun damage. Also, on another note, some unique spots like hands or knees or elbows, I find will actually just end up having the appearance of it being faded. Depending on how rough those parts of your body are, that top layer of skin can kind of just give the illusion that it's faded when there's actually a lot of ink underneath. For this first 2 or 3 months after getting tattooed, it's really important to stay out of the sun. That top layer of skin is healed, but it's still really susceptible to UV damage. So if you're out in the sun, that tattoo is going to really suffer because of it. You have a little more wiggle room after those 2 or 3 months, but in general, the sun is your enemy if you want a good long-lasting tattoo, even a tattoo that is a few years old. So that's the first initial reason why your tattoo might fade after the first couple months. This next part of the video, I'm going to go over what you can do to kind of mitigate this and slow that process down over the years to come. Following proper aftercare that your artist might recommend to you is really crucial for this first little bit, but a lot of the time there's not a whole lot more you can do than just stay out of the sun and keep it clean and having healthy skin and that kind of thing. So what can you do to increase the longevity of your tattoo? Before you even get tattooed, you could even note if the longevity of it is really important to you, is the placement of the tattoo. Certain areas lose their elasticity a little bit faster, like anywhere that could stretch a little bit easier. Anywhere you might find stretch marks, like kind of closer to your armpits, your stomach, that kind of thing. If you get tattooed in these areas, they tend not to last as long, or they might actually kind of seep a little bit more, like giving it kind of more of a faded look. Another thing to note is the overall quality of your skin, the kind of diet that you might have. In one of my other videos, I go over the importance of having healthy skin before getting your tattoo. This is also for after your tattoo. The healthier you are, the healthier lifestyle you live, the better your tattoos are gonna look. This might come down to diet or vitamins or how much sun you get. There's a lot of factors. Another big one that people might not really think about right away is smoking. If you smoke, you might find your tattoos might not look as good as someone else's tattoos if they don't smoke. I'm not too sure on the science behind this. This is just another pointer for you. Age can also play a huge factor in the longevity of your tattoo. If you're say 18 years old and you get a tattoo, 20 years from now, that tattoo will look better than say you got a tattoo when you're 40 years old and in 20 years you're 60. This is just because the age of your skin is also going to have like a really important role in the way that your tattoo fades. The healthier your skin is, which naturally is when you're younger, the better your tattoo is going to look over time. Some of this information might be kind of obvious, but I think it's important to kind of note all of this stuff down. So the number one way to increase the longevity of your tattoos is to avoid the sun as much as possible. I'm not saying you can't go outside or anything like that, but I really recommend that you wear like a sunscreen, anything that's going to prevent your skin from burning or tanning. It's actually crazy how much the sun will affect your tattoos in the long run. So I always wear sunscreen on all my tattoos in the summertime, especially if I know I'm going to be out there for a while. The more times you get sunburned, the faster your tattoos are going to fade. This kind of comes down to your priorities and how important it is for you to have tan skin, or if you want a tattoo that's going to look good for years to come. But I always wear sunscreen in the summertime just to protect the vibrancy of my tattoos. The only other way I can think of that you could increase the longevity of your tattoo is every 5 or 10 years, maybe you get it freshened up a little bit. I know with black and gray, this is a really easy thing to do. You might just darken up some of the details and that kind of thing, and then that will give it a little bit more longevity. Another piece of advice is after the 2 or 3 months that your tattoo is like fully settled in, you can let the artist take a look at it, and if there's anything that they feel they want to kind of darken up or maybe push the contrast a little bit more, this might actually give your tattoo a lot more longevity than you think. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're tattooing if you're going too shallow on the skin. I find especially with black and gray, you're trying to get like a smooth blend in. You might be feathering it in a little bit light, and sometimes those details lighten up more than the tattoo artist expects. To put it really simple, after you get your tattoo, it's gonna heal that top layer, which is gonna take about 2 weeks to a month. And then after that, the next kind of thing to look out for is when the tattoo is like fully settled, which is about 2 to 3 months old. You get a better idea of what your tattoo actually looks like at that time. That first couple of weeks can actually be quite misleading, especially depending on the tattoo artist that you go to. Some people's work doesn't seem to change too much, but in general, usually if you look at a fresh tattoo and then you look at a tattoo that's 3 months old, you'll be able to tell the difference and why a tattoo artist might have tattooed it a little bit darker or pushed that contrast a little bit more than you might have wanted at the beginning of the tattoo. Well guys, that does it for today's video. I hope you got some value out of it. If you learned anything new, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate any likes. If you want to subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. I'm trying to post every week or every 2 weeks, and any tattoo artists or clients that get a lot of tattoos done, if you have any advice for newer clients that want to keep the longevity of their tattoos as long as possible, maybe leave those in the comments as well. Until next time guys, peace.